Hello everyone. Good morning and happy Tuesday. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm glad you're joining in. I see lots of you already hopping in the comments. So as you're finding us today, say hello. We are excited about the new kit that launched this morning at 9 a.m. So maybe you already have yours purchased or you've popped it into your cart waiting to see what we're going to create today. So I am really excited to share with you guys. We're going to craft together, and I'm going to walk through some new samples that have come in since our product reveal video that went out on Saturday. Those of you that are part of our fan page, you get an early sneak peek. If you tune in on Saturdays, Whitney and I like to walk through what's coming on Tuesday to give you a little heads up, and we have lots of fun samples to share during that time. But sometimes we get samples between Saturday and now, and we like to share those with you guys too. So we're going to do a little bit of that today. Let me say hello to a few people. Hello, Claudia in Phoenix. Paget is here. Good morning, Sally and Gina and Jennifer in Minnesota. Also in Minnesota is the fabulous illustrator of this kit, Miss Heather Nichols is here joining us today. Hi, Heather. And we've got Susan and Barbara in Kansas, April, Loretta, Gail, Amrita, Sherry, Deneen. Look at all of you guys tuning in today. Well, it is pretty hot around here. We had a steamy weekend. Hopefully, if you garden and you live in the Midwest, hopefully your garden didn't die over the weekend. We were also on a water ban here in central Iowa to conserve water, and so we weren't allowed to water our gardens for a while. But I don't garden, so that wasn't a problem of mine. But hopefully all of your gardens survived. And if not, I see we've got, I'm not sure if it's Ellie or Charlie in the comments, but this one made me laugh. She said, the good thing is that you can't kill paper. So all of our veggies that we're going to be featuring today from our Seeds and Such kit, they are going to be ripe 365 days of the year. And you can't kill them. So even if you have that black thumb, I think this kit is going to be something that everybody can enjoy. So I'm excited to share more of it with you guys. Yes, Amrita said super hot where she's at, over 100 degrees. I think the heat index was something like 105 here on Saturday. So we did a lot of indoor activities over the weekend. Anybody out there in Texas, I would love to hear from you. I am headed your way. Right after this live, I'm headed out to the airport with our daughter. She is playing in nationals for volleyball. So we're taking a flight over to Dallas to see all of you in Texas. And I'm curious, what's the weather like down there? I'm guessing hot, maybe a dry heat instead of the humid heat that we get up a little farther north. But yes, that's what I'm doing after this, and excited to see somewhere new. So it's been quite a while since I've been on a flight. I was trying to think of the last one. I don't get to fly very often, so we are excited for a good time. Okay, you guys, should we get started? Whitney, what do you think?
Woo!
Yes?
I'm ready to plant some seeds.
Let's plant some paper seeds and grow a paper garden today. Let's do it. Okay, let's take a look then at the kit, and this is what it looks like. So it is called Seeds and Such, and it features amazing vegetable seed packets. And one of the things I said in our product reveal video was the thing that I love about this kit is the opportunities for expanding it. So can you imagine flower seeds and fruit seeds, all that fit inside of this packet? And actually Heather has already designed some of those, so you can bet that we will be adding on to this this idea in the future, which I also love. I love versatility, being able to use things for more than one purpose, and I'm going to show you some of that in the samples as well. I got on a little bit of a shaker card kick, and so I made lots of shaker cards for this release. But just in case you're not familiar with our kits, they all come packaged inside one of these Velcro pouches. You can choose to store them in here because they have a nice pouch sticker, or you can take them out and store them within your collection, however it works best for you. I'm not going to walk through every piece of the kit, but these are the pieces of our kit this month, and we have something special. This month we're offering $10 off of our kit. This is packed with products, and typically we like to keep our kit prices as low as possible for you guys. In this case, in order to do that, we're offering you a discount right off the bat to purchase this kit. That is also applicable to the bundle. So if you get our I Want It All bundle, which includes the kit and the items that are available outside of the kit, that is $15 off for the bundle. So these are the pieces that you'll get in your kit. It's really built around this seed packet stamp and the layering vegetable garden dies that get you the peas, the radish, the carrot, and the tomatoes. Then I am loving the Seeds and Such Insiders. If I were you, I would grab an extra pack of these because I've been using these a whole bunch. As you can see on the front of this one, I've been using these a lot. There are some really cute puns for each of the vegetables in there, and just some great sentiments. And then, as with all of our kits, you get our tailored tutorial, which is going to show you how to make this card. It's got double-sided, extra pictures, step-by-step instructions, and measurements, supplies used, colors used. All of it is right here for you if you need that little push of inspiration to get your kit items out and get crafting. Another push for inspiration, you guys are going to be able to use this QR code to find all of the inspiration from our design team on a Pinterest board. So you can save this with your kit. Even if you're not able to craft with it right away, you can craft later and find inspiration to get you started. So in addition to those kit elements, we always offer some things for purchase outside of the kit. We have our cute little envelope seals. We have the dies that coordinate with the sentiments that you have in the kit. We also have dies for the vegetable garden layering stencil. So once you blend these out, you can choose to die cut them if you want. And then we have our petite packet die. This one's going to be fun to add on to as well. This fits a gift card, so I can see myself using it a lot for gift card giving. All right, let's take a look at some of the new inspiration that has come in using this kit. Heather herself created these adorable cards. I always love when she creates products, she always has a vision in her mind for how that's going to translate into an actual card. So I always love seeing how she takes the products that she designs and pairs them up with other things, gets creative with her layouts. I love how she did kind of the tone-on-tone seed packet. So we've got toffee on toffee and also toffee on sugar cube. Some of the background stamps that she used that look really great with this, we've got the chicken wire and then our knock on wood background stamp on this other one over here. I think both of those are fun additions to this theme. And then she made a couple of seed packets as well. So again, you can fit gift cards in these. You can also fit actual seeds. So if you wanted to give, tomato seeds or peas or seeds for peas, you could do that. She also got creative and did this closure, this string loop closure, which I had fun doing that too. These are just circles with brads in the middle, and you attach them to the seed packet, and then you can twist your string around. So these pieces don't come with the die, but you can add those using any circle dies that you have. So super fun. Let's take a look at some of the maybe more non-seed packet uses for this particular petite packet. This is again the petite packet, and there you can see that closure that I created on the back. And this one is a shaker with a birthday theme, and you could put a gift card to give for a birthday in there, which I think is really fun. Another birthday option I told you guys I got crafty with shaker cards, and I made a lot of them. So this is a shaker and this is a shaker. It's your day. Let us turn up the beat with lots of different bits and pieces in there. I think that one is super fun and bright. Something a little bit away from the seed packet theme, but just showing you lots of versatility with the kit items. And then Jill made these. I always have to show off Jill's cards because I love how she adds faces to everything. How cute with the big googly eyes and the smiley face on our purple radish. And then over here, the peas. She put little faces on every single pea. I think those are from our snail kit from last month. So if you have the snail kit, you also can put faces on your peas. She covered them with glossy accents. So do you see that beautiful shine on top of the peas as well? So super, super fun. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys the card we're gonna be making today, and then we're gonna get going. So Amrita says, you get a shaker and you get a shaker and everyone gets a shaker. And appropriately, we're gonna make another shaker today. So this time I'm gonna be showing you how to use the dies that come in the kit in order to make that seed packet into a shaker. And I've got cute little shaker bits in there, X's and O's and hearts and glitter drops and sparkly stars, a little bit of everything inside of my shaker element. So we're gonna start by stamping and putting together our shaker piece, and then we'll get to making the background for our card as well. All right, so I am going to be setting up, this is our seed packet background stamp, and it is set up as one image. So those two seed packets can be stamped together. Now, your stamps are your stamps. So if you want to cut this down the center, you certainly can. Your dies will still work. This just gives you more of that mass production option to be able to stamp two of them at the same time. So I am going to grab my Misty, and I'm going to make a recommendation, and I promise you'll thank me later. So this particular stamp does not fit fully on an A2 piece of cardstock. So that would be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It doesn't quite fit fully on there. It's a little large. So here's my recommendation. We have this product that is specifically designed for our simple strips. If you use our simple strips, you know they're a little bit larger than an A2 piece of paper. And so we created these simple strip stacks. They come in sugar cube and toffee, and they are slightly larger cardstock than your A2. So if you grab these, you're not going to have as much waste when you try to stamp two of these at the same time. So maybe grab a pack of these simple strip stacks and plan to use them with your seed packets. So that's what I'm going to pull out, a sugar cube piece of paper from our simple stacks. And then we're going to go ahead and place this down. I've got some adhesive down there, which is why I don't need to use the magnet, but there is extra paper on the sides for you to use the magnet if you would prefer to do that. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this in toffee. Toffee on sugar cube. A good twist and tap over the surface. We can stamp this again if we want, but the beauty of rubber is that usually you don't need to. So as long as you get the stamp inked all the way. One thing I will mention is if you're pressing hard on your stamp pad and you get ink in the centers of these, typically it doesn't transfer to the paper, but you can use a baby wipe to just wipe it out before you stamp it, or just don't press as hard on the lid of your Misty and you won't get the transfer of any ink that might be inside of those. And now I've talked a little bit and I want to make sure that I have everything wet and ready to ink. Okay, grab my Just Press tool and we'll press over the top here. Looks like we did good. I've got a little spot right here and I can actually see the ink still on my stamp, so I'm just going to take and press hard in that one little spot to transfer the rest of the ink, and then I think that looks great. As you wait on this particular image, as you wait, the ink absorbs into the cardstock and you're going to get a nice, flawless, seamless looking stamped piece. You'll notice also if I bring in the card here, it is going to lighten up. So our inks are designed so that when you stamp them, as they dry, we call it drying back. They dry back to the actual color. So this looks a little bit dark, but as it dries, it's going to soak into the cardstock. It's going to get lighter and it's going to look more seamless and not, you can see a little bit of splotchiness here, but that's all going to go away as it dries. Okay, now let's get out the stencils that are part of this kit. You do get 6 different stencils. 3 of the stencils go together to give you the tomatoes and the carrots. So those are the 3 that I have here, and they are listed as B1, B2, and B3. And then there are 3 other stencils that give you the radish and the peas, and those are A1, A2, and A3. So you're actually getting a total of 6 stencils. I'll just be using 3 of them here today. And if you notice on here, let me see if I put my hand or a piece of paper behind it. Sometimes it's easier to see, but do you see those etched guidelines around the stencil openings? Those are there to help you line up your imagery inside of these openings on the seed packet. So I'm going to get my tape ready to tape this down. And then we're going to hold this up and we're going to find those etched guidelines and just make sure that they follow the lines of our stamped image. And that's going to make sure that this is positioned perfectly inside of our open space. If you don't use those etched guidelines, you might accidentally put your tomatoes too high, and then your greenery would overlap into the seed packet. Same thing with the carrots and all of the imagery. That's why we created those etched guidelines, so that your artwork is perfectly centered inside the seed packet. Okay, so we're gonna just do the tomatoes. I'm actually not gonna do anything with this side of the stencil today. I'll grab my Glassboard Buddy and Cherry Pop ink. And Bitty blender brushes have been what I have appreciated using with these stencils so far. So we're gonna just blend those tomatoes. All right. Looks good. You could make green tomatoes too if you wanted. If you wanted them not quite ripe yet.
Fried green tomatoes.
That's right.
Those are actually delicious.
Are they?
Yes, they have them at a restaurant here, and I had them for the first time.
Oh.
So yummy.
You know I'm not a fan of tomatoes, so you won't ever convince me that I will like them.
So funny.
So this stencil, the second layer is really easy to fit in now that we have those tomatoes done. You can just line up the little greenery openings inside of the blended parts and then tack that down. And for this one, we're going to use Peapod ink. Okay. And then we'll pull that one off. Trying to use my teal tape on all of the layers so I don't have to peel new tape off. Okay, then this final layer is going to fit just nicely inside of there. And this final layer and some of the layers do have more than one intended color on them. However, they are far enough apart so that you can easily do both pieces. So your little detail markings on your tomatoes would be a darker red, and I'm going to use mulled wine for that. You can use a detail blender brush. Sometimes detail blender brushes are easier inside of these tiny spaces or small openings, so you can just take and apply that darker ink right where you want it. You can get really intricate on your application using these detail brushes. So that was mulled wine, and then I'm going to grab cilantro for the leafy part. Let me find my cilantro brush here. Okay. All right. We're done with our blending. Easy peasy. I should be making peas, and then I can make easy peasy puns the whole time. All right, so there we go. We have our tomatoes. You know, it seems like it comes up every time we talk about tomatoes. I just don't like tomatoes in their raw form. So I like tomato sauce, like spaghetti sauce. I like salsa. I like ketchup. But you feed me like a whole tomato or a chunk of tomatoes and I will protest. So, yes. All right. There's what that looks like. Now let's go ahead and cut this out with the coordinating die. So when the die comes to you, it is going to be all connected as one piece. I have disconnected the inner portions of the die from my set, and I would recommend that you do the same because you might not always want to cut out the inside piece. Sometimes you might just want to cut out the full seed packet. So in this particular case, I want to cut out the inside because I'm going to drop it back and make the seed packet pop up so that I can put my shaker material behind there. So let's grab the die cut machine. And we'll line that up. There is a cut line down the center, so just kind of position your cut line down the center and then equal distance around the outside edges, left to right, top to bottom. And we'll tack that down on two sides before we send it through just to make sure it doesn't shift. Looks like we are all in good company. Some of us also say no raw tomatoes. Exactly the same, no tomatoes for me.
Do you like ketchup?
I do, yeah. I know. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other tomato things that I don't like, unless it has like chunks of tomatoes in it. Like usually my salsa, I want it well blended and not, you know, with chunky tomatoes in it. So I never get the thick and chunky salsa at the store. Okay, we are going to line that up and tack it down so we can cut out the inside portion of this. Okay. So we have two pieces here. Whitney, actually, can you grab me another piece of toffee? Yes. I forgot to grab that. Just something big enough for one seed packet. Should work. So we also, and I didn't grab acetate.
Okay.
Definitely gonna need that too. So what we have now are these two pieces, and like I said, we're gonna drop this back and pop this up to make the shaker. I have forgotten the most important part of the shaker, which is the acetate. So Whitney's grabbing that for me along with another piece of toffee cardstock so we can cut this second seed packet that we'll use as a backer for our shaker element. Okay. Let me grab my scissors. So we really only need one shaker packet for the backer. And we can position that something like this, I think. Except for I gotta cut it down.
Big enough?
Yep, that's great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna position one seed packet to use as the backer here. And we'll run that through. Yeah, Deneen says they'll buy the thick and chunky salsa and then smooth it out with an immersion blender, and I have been known to do that before.
Me too!
Some of my favorite salsas are thick and chunky, and then there is a way to get past that. So, okay, now the acetate piece, let's go ahead and with this acetate piece, you can cut it with the die if you want the full backing to be acetate, but really all you need is a piece large enough to cover the window opening on your seed packet. So I'm just going to trim this down here on the side, and we'll use that. I'm going to go ahead and adhere it right now before I'm done with all of my die cutting so I don't lose it. So I am just going to use the Scotch Permanent Adhesive Dot Roller for a little bit of adhesive around the outside edge. And then, you guys, I lost it already. I said, here it is. That's the whole reason why I wanted to adhere it right now, and then I went ahead and lost it anyway. Okay, so that piece of acetate then is, actually, let's take that off. I'm getting a little discombobulated. Not quite yet. Here's what we need to do first. We are going to take this out of the way. I'm going to try and get all of my die cutting done at the same time, but I think I'll think better if it moves out of the way. Okay, so this is our backer, and we're going to drop this piece and adhere it onto our backer, but I want to make sure that it's in exactly the right spot. So with a little bit of adhesive on the back of this seed packet piece, we're just going to tack that in place just slightly, and then we're going to use that sort of as a puzzle to kind of put that inside piece right where it needs to go. And then I can pull this up and place the acetate over the top. So there's my acetate piece with my adhesive around the window, and we'll go ahead and tack that down. So I have my window in there, and I know that when I'm ready to adhere this, it's going to fit perfectly right over the top of that imagery. Heather, thank you for telling me you have also lost acetate pieces so many times. And then you recut it and immediately you find the piece you lost. Yes, that's how it works in all of life. You know, you think you've lost your key or something and you go get a replacement one and then you find it. Yes. Or I did that once with my driver's license. I thought I had lost it or left it somewhere or something. And so I got a new one and then I found it. So it does happen like that. Okay, so let's get to making this into our shaker. Before we adhere the foam piece around the outside, I want to do my stamping on the front of my seed packet. So I'm going to grab my mini Misty here. I already have that black foam piece underneath my grid paper so that since I'm using clear stamps, I know that it will be the right height for me. I'm going to grab that tomato and push that up towards the top here. And then underneath that, I'm going to stamp my Sunshine Seed Co. All right, feel good about that. Okay. Use Versafine Clair ink. Lisa says, as long as I don't lose my marbles, I'm good. So far, so good on that. Okay. So there's tomato. Then we'll put this up here to wash later. I'm going to grab the Sunshine Seed Co. There's a few options. There's Just Add Sunshine or the Sunshine Seed Co., whichever you kind of prefer. And we're going to stamp that underneath tomato. And I didn't want the seed company name to stand out. I wanted it on there, but I didn't want it to stand out. So I'm going to stamp that tone on tone with Toffee ink, and it's just going to kind of fade into the background. So it's noticeable, but not too noticeable. Straighten it out just a touch here. Okay. Stamp it a couple times to get it a little bit darker. And while I have my MISTI and my stamps out, I'm going to get a small piece of Bubblegum cardstock, and we'll go ahead and stamp the seeds. There's a couple different circles in this stamp set, one for seeds and one for the little 5-cent. And then I'm going to do Grown with Love, since this is kind of a love-themed card. And we'll stamp those and die cut them. This one, put you up here. All right, so Versafine Clair ink again. We'll set that aside when we're ready to die cut. Okay. So we have our stamping done on our seed packet, and now we can build our seed packet into a shaker. I'm going to use the best invention ever, which is this one. Foam sticky strips, specifically the best invention ever for making shaker cards. These are thicker than normal foam tape, and they are pre-cut in strips. You can actually form those strips around shapes. So if you're doing like a circle or really any shape, you can form these. They kind of bend around different shapes. We just need straight lines today, so we'll just cut these. Barbara asked a good question. How do you decide which stamps will be done in red rubber and which ones will be clear? So I think I've mentioned this quite a few times. Most of you know that we manufacture our own rubber stamps here in our facility in Ankeny. And I kind of came into the industry using rubber stamps. I have always loved their quality. I think there are some specific situations where rubber stamps perform better than clear stamps. One of those is when the stamp is large. So if we're doing a large background stamp, you will find that we will always do those in rubber. Another instance is when the stamp is very intricate. We can get a lot of detail. If you think about this background stamp that's called Cork, we're going to use that. But look at all of those little intricacies. The stamp itself looks kind of just flat, but because the way the rubber is molded, we're able to get really, really tiny with our details, and we know they're going to stamp well. So if we can make something, if it makes sense to make something out of rubber, we probably will find a way to do that. Some of the reasons why we do things in clear, sometimes it's a cost thing. Clear stamps are less expensive. So if we're trying to fit it into a particular event or kit, then we might consider clear. The other reason would be if you're stamping it onto another thing, like you're not going to die cut out this word tomato. So we want to make sure that you are able to line it up really well and aren't frustrated by having to stamp multiple times onto a seed packet. So sometimes if we intend the stamp to not be die cut, we will choose to do it in clear. So those are just some of the considerations. Of course, there are always other considerations, but in my experience and my opinion, rubber stamps just stamp better. You don't have to condition them. They are, I think we've also gotten past in the industry the alignment issues with the ability to use the MISTI, with most of our things being die cut. The kind of challenges that you have with rubber stamps, not being able to see through them, have been overcome. So yes, hopefully that was a really long answer to your question. But yeah. Okay, so you can see I've built that shaker wall around the outside of my acetate piece, or the opening, the window opening, making sure that those pieces of adhesive are touching each other so that my shaker bits don't get out. And then I've also added, just for stability, you want that the rest of your image that you're adhering to be at the same height as your shaker window. You don't want this to flop, or you don't want to adhere it with lower, thinner adhesive, because then it's going to kind of have a dip in it. So I use that same adhesive just to add some sturdiness and stability to the bottom. Okay, then let's go ahead and put our shaker bits in here. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I have used lots of different bits and pieces. This is one of my favorite things in our collection, is combining different bits and pieces to create the shaker material, I guess, that I want, like this one. I think I used 4 different bits and pieces in there: sparkly stars, silver holographic stars, our new sparkle party, and our clay stars that are called Star Party. So don't be afraid to mix and match. In this particular shaker, it's a very small shaker, but I still managed to fit 4 different ones. I've got our bits and pieces XOXO. I sorted out the X's and the O's because I didn't want the other ones in there. And then I have our red glitter drops and some sparkly stars as well. And then also I've got clay hearts in here. Our clay hearts come in white. I'm gonna pick some of these out here. The great thing about these coming in white is that it makes them even more versatile, because if you want them in another color, I wanted some pink in my shaker. That's where this all started. I wanted pink in my shaker, but I didn't want the hot pink hearts that are in this set. So hot pink was not part of my my color story. So I decided to grab my white clay hearts and color them with Olos. And you can do that in any color you want with any of our clay embellishments that are white. So we have white clay stars as well. And you just take the marker and kind of dot it on there. I think this particular, it does lighten as you let it soak in. So let me get a little bit closer so you guys can see here better. Just taking that marker and kind of dabbing it onto the heart. And it will be, you know, it doesn't dry instantly, so, but it will dry. Or you can also take like a paper towel and kind of dab it if you need it to dry really quickly. And also, depending on your shaker, you might want to flip it over and also do the back side, because then your entire heart, whether it is front or back facing, is the same color. So I'll flip some of these over and do that. So there was another question about why use Versafine Clair versus Oreo. So when I'm crafting, my preference is if I'm doing a sentiment, something that I want to be really crisp and dark black, I will use Versafine Clair. Another reason I use Versafine Clair is it's a pigment ink, and so it stays wet longer. If I want to emboss my sentiment, which I often do, with clear embossing powder, I can stamp it in black, and the ink, the Versafine Clair ink, will stay wet long enough for me to add some clear embossing powder, and then I get a really shiny, bright sentiment. Now, I also will use the Versafine Clair ink if I'm blending with black ink. And my reasoning there is it goes on a little smoother, a little faster, and it's darker than the Oreo ink. So what does that mean I use Oreo ink for? Well, Oreo is a hybrid ink. It's kind of a jack of all trades ink. It works for lots of different coloring mediums. So you will find me using Oreo ink if I am going to color the image. So it's an outline image, and I want to use, whether I'm using Gamsol and colored pencils, or Olo markers, or even watercolor. It is a waterproof ink as well, so you can watercolor with it. Those are the reasons why I use the Oreo ink. You'll usually see me using it on imagery. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Okay, so I know Amrita noticed my nails. So I'm gonna get my alcohol out here to clean this. And the great part about this is it'll actually clean up my nail fine too. Just like that. See, all good. Let me get a little bit on this one. Okay. No harm done. The rainbow nails are still intact. Woo! I know. I should do rainbow nails more often. I think I've gotten the most compliments ever on my nails since they've been these rainbow colors. Okay, so there we have our little pink hearts. And we are going to take the rest of this shaker material here that Whitney's already kind of measured out for me and put in our little star dish, so that I can just take and kind of pour it onto the top here. Now sometimes I will make my shaker different. You guys have seen me where I will adhere the whole shaker and leave the top with the backing still on it, so that I can kind of peel that open and pour my shaker bits in. I love doing that method, and that's what I did on this shaker. A lot of times if you have a lot of different shaker bits and you want to make sure you're not covering too much at the bottom, or you're covering enough at the bottom, it's really nice to leave it open at the top and kind of scrunch it together and be able to pour your shaker bits inside. Then you can really see and add more or take away without before you close it up. Now in this particular case, there are some elements in here that I want to make sure are kind of right side up, and that's the glitter drops. So I've got some red glitter drops, and I want them to be turned over facing the right direction. So this, when I have a directionality and I need my shaker bits to kind of land a certain way before I adhere them in, this is how I will do the shaker. This would be good too if you didn't color both sides of the hearts. Then you could make sure that the right side is facing up. So I think my glitter drops are good. Got enough. This also is not a very big shaker area, so I want to make sure that I'm not overfilling my shaker. This allows me to see that I have just enough in the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and peel off the tape. I peeled off the window tape, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that first. If you get I like to get my head right over the top, kind of adhere that top part first, and then allow the rest of it to fall into place. And I think Heather shared this on her live earlier last week, but that's a Susan trick. So I did not peel off the backing of this bottom layer. Sometimes if you get too much exposed adhesive, it's just hard to manage, and you get, oh, this part's stuck down and I wasn't ready yet. So, you know, if there are pieces and parts that you can wait and do after you have your window intact, then that's kind of the reasoning behind that. So now I can just take and peel those 3 layers and pop that down as well. There we go.
Woo woo!
Yes, coming together. Okay, I just looked at the clock for the first time. I'm feeling good. Feeling good about where we're at. Okay, so we're gonna set aside this shaker piece now. I have a little bit more die cutting to do, so let me bring back my die cut machine and that piece that we stamped earlier with the seeds and the Grown with Love. We're going to use the coordinating dies. That comes in the set that's sold apart from the kit. So the clear stamp set comes in your kit, but the dies to cut out the sentiments and the little banner and seeds or 5 cents, however you want to do those are in the separate die set. So we'll go ahead and get these die cut. We can glue those on the front of our little shaker.
I love that banner.
Isn't that fun?
Yes, I think that's such a great idea.
I like how the stamps fit nicely. They kind of curve to fit inside the banner. And we're just going to adhere that at the top corner of this.
I've been quiet today. I've been soaking in all of the tips and tricks. I'm a gardener, so I have to like take it all in. This is adorable though.
I was over at Mom's the other day and her garden is really doing well.
I know.
She's been out of town, so she'll be happy that Dad's been watering it appropriately.
And we reap the benefits of fresh produce.
Yes.
I'm always like, this is amazing.
Dear Mom, could I have a jar of salsa, please? I love it. All right, so there's our little shaker seed packet. Now let's go ahead and we are going to do some blending. So I've got this here along with a piece of cardstock. So this sugar cube cardstock is 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to tack that down onto the glass mat. And then this stencil is actually part of a layering stencil called Puppy Love. So it has kind of a random heart pattern you'll see here. But what fits in the middle of all of those hearts are paws. So I am pulling out just the heart. I really wanted that kind of random smattering of hearts and not a kind of geometrical, symmetrical pattern. So that's why I pulled out this layering stencil for this purpose. And we're going to tack that down and blend it with Bubblegum ink. Grab my glass board buddy again. Okay. And we'll blend across there. Okay, super simple. There are enough kind of open spaces in here that we have room to put a few, kind of pop a few red hearts in here. And I did that with die cut hearts on the actual card. So if you see those red hearts, they came from a die cut, which I'll talk about in just a second. Okay, so let's start getting all of our pieces together. We've got our blended background. Next, we have our card base. And I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be stamping this with our cork background. So this is the one I showed you when I talked about rubber stamps and why I love them. So let's take that off of the carrier and we will put that into the MISTI here. I'm going to put my card base directly on top of that. And then press on the back in order to pick up the card base in just the right spot. Now sometimes when you're stamping right on a card base, you'll see you get this little flap. It kind of wants to flap up on you. So usually when I'm stamping directly on a card base, I will take a little bit of adhesive. Normally removable adhesive is what I would choose. I don't see it here and it's not a big deal. It'll come off either way. So just a touch of adhesive. I've got a little glittery star that got stuck to my background stamp. Did you guys see on my last live video, somebody pointed it out that I had a star, a sparkly star stuck to my forehead at the end of the video. So if you go back to last Tuesday, it was true. Happens even to me when I'm live. Sparkly stars all over.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Madge is asking if we sell the replacement wax tips for the pickup tool. Yes, we do. A little bit down here, so I'm just going to press in that spot again. Looks good. I usually don't re-ink unless I see that the stamp doesn't actually have any ink left on it. But a lot of times what your paper is asking for is just for you to close the stamp again and push in that one area. And then you keep the crispness of the design without over inking it. I think sometimes if you're inking things 3 or more times, you're not getting a real crisp image. So, all right, let's get that adhesive off of the inside. And to do that, you just rub it with your finger until it kind of flakes off. And then I've got some here too that will get off of my glass board before I start assembling everything. Okay, and one last thing to die cut. So where did I put that? Maybe that was a bad idea.
Oh no.
I might need Whitney,
my
finder. So yeah, I think my little heart die that I put over here.
Oh yes.
It got picked up when I was moving my MISTI, and then I set it somewhere thinking, I won't lose this. Oh, I found it. Okay.
You didn't lose it.
I didn't lose it yet.
Proud.
Okay, so I mentioned I die cut some tiny little hearts from red that we're gonna pop in the background. And this is the heart die that I almost lost but didn't. We're gonna cut that out of Cherry Pop, and that comes from the Hang On Hearts die set. So that is an amazing die set that gets used a lot. This is what it looks like. And it has hearts of all different sizes and patterns and shapes. Really fun I've made anniversary cards, wedding cards. I've made, obviously, Valentine's Day cards. And now I can't find my clear plate. Here it is. Oh, okay. Woo! Somebody help me. All right. So there's those little hearts, and I'll just stick those in this dish so that I don't lose them, right? So when I say I've lost them, you guys will say, Taylor, they're in your dish. Come on. Okay. Poke these out. Lots of rain happening here today, huh? I think I hear it starting up again. Okay, now we are officially ready to assemble, and I've gotten into kind of, I don't know, asymmetrical card layouts. I intentionally pushed my panel down into the bottom corner. I wanted it to look a little different than just, you know, a lot of times I get in the habit of card base, layer, layer, and they're all equally spaced. And I've been doing this a little bit more often, kind of wanting something that looks a little bit different. So we are going to actually adhere the bubblegum cardstock normal. So as if you're doing a regular layer. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and it is centered then on the card base. And then the other piece is the one that's a little unexpected. So this one is going to get pushed all the way down into the right-hand corner, which is going to leave kind of an equal border of that bubblegum color around the top and the left, or the top and, yep, top and left. I said that right. I'm going to make sure that I get it down into the corner before adhering the rest. So making sure that corner matches up and then letting the rest kind of fall into place. Okay, we'll bring in our real star of the show, which is our cute little shaker element. And we'll go ahead and adhere that sort of slightly angled on that panel. Okay, and then we're just gonna pop in some of these little red hearts to add a little bit more red to our background. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. I realize I just apologized to my craft tool. I've done that in a store before too. Like backed into a mannequin and said, "Oh, sorry."
If I like fumble with something that's on a shelf, I'll be, whoa, sorry.
sorry.
Push it back on.
Yeah.
You have to show everyone the inside of that
I
card.
do.
Yes, because it's so adorable.
Well, that was kind of where the inspiration came from for making this tomato-themed lovey card. So I will definitely show you the inside of this, and
it was not for the love of tomatoes.
It
was as previously discussed.
I'd have to give this to John. He does like tomatoes, so it would be more appropriate for him. Okay, one more. Oh no. Apparently I needed 2 more. We'll do that afterwards. I've got one little exposed drop of glue up here. Okay, here it is.
Cute.
Should we look at the inside? Here's my original card, and kind of where the idea for the Tomato Love card came from is the adorable insiders panel. I love you from my head to my toes. Tomatoes. Tomatoes. I think that's cute little sentiment, and like I mentioned at the beginning, in this pack of insiders, there are several different ones that are kind of punny and themed to the different vegetables. So there's the more generic, congrats on planting new roots, and hope this note plants a smile on your face. But then here's the tomatoes one. And then we have, oh snap, sorry I missed your birthday, hope it was happy. Super cute. And then you saw the shaker I made out of this one. It's your day. Lettuce, turnip, the beet. And then I care about you a whole bunch. So fun. All right, you guys, let's say farewell. All right, it is right at 11 o'clock. I think we did well today. I hope you had fun, learned something new. I hope you're loving this seeds and such theme. I think it's going to be a fun one. I can see myself using it lots, especially as we keep adding to it with other types of seeds. So feel free always to leave in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. What would you like to see in the seed packet artwork? So, all right, I am headed off to Dallas this afternoon. I saw lots of you in the comments saying it's hot, which I was expecting. So I will be back next week. You will have Heather here for the live this week on Thursday. So make sure you tune in 10 a.m. Central Time on Thursday for another fabulous project from Heather. And then I will be back to see you next week on Tuesday. All right, everybody, have a good one.